Testing. Blah, 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 blah.
Ready, set, go.
It's time for the Coach Amy and Coach Liz show.
A podcast for endurance athletes by 2 athletes, 2 coaches, and a physical therapist.
We are your hosts, Coach Amy
And Coach Liz.
coming to you from Kansas City. Good morning. I hear you've started training for a big event.
Oh my god.
A new sport. What is it?
Oh my god. I better be careful about turning this into a sport. I'm trying to learn how to decorate cookies.
Ooh, like
and cakes.
Martha Stewart type cookies, super beautiful with, okay, what kind of frosting is it that you're making?
I took a class.
So what's like is it, what's that Martha Stewart frosting?
What? So there's frosting's the whole thing.
I know.
Yeah.
There's buttercreams.
I know.
And then there's
like special, I had to buy a special, I can't even remember. It tells you how it's going.
That's okay. You don't need to
I
be
took
able
this
to
class.
You don't need to be able to teach the class. You just need to be able to start doing it.
I don't know. I took the class, I bought the books, and I'm like, I haven't tried yet. But it's like a special kind of powder that you use to like make it. There's like a whole thing.
There's a name for it. I can't think of what it is. It's on the
either.
tip of my tongue. But you actually have like a piping bag.
You do.
Right. And you're the delicate work. And then someone just goes and eats it.
Oh, well, that's it. For me, I feel like it's...
Stay tuned for Liz's Instagram page. It's a whole separate Instagram.
Oh, God.
Liz cookies.
Has it been eaten, or is that just what the icing looks like?
Does it taste as good as it looks?
Oh my god. They're a disaster.
Stay tuned. I'm going to ask for an update, and we'll include pictures in our
Maybe
show
I'll bring
notes.
you some cookies if you're nice.
I love baked goods. It is my weakness,
Yeah.
and I will go ahead and do the duty and try your cookie.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
And I will be honest with you. Ask my kids. I don't sugarcoat shit. So if it's shitty, I'll tell you. Like Top Chef.
Oh my god.
Cookie
There's no risk of it. I watched
This is
the
underdone.
British baking show, and I'm like,
That's one of my favorite shows.
so fun.
It's underdone. I don't want it to be underdone.
God, I wouldn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
What are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about preacting versus reacting when we're running. Don't worry, we'll explain. We're going to cover what this has to do with running. Why is it problematic if we're not preacting? And how do we bring this into practice?
Yep.
Those are the goals for today's podcast. So, Liz,
Well,
you're holding your breath.
Well, no. Not. I just don't like. You were very diligent. You did your due diligence today, and you had this whole thing ready when I arrived, and I don't know what we're doing. So I'm very interested because I don't
have a clue what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, sure, yes, but no. I mean,
okay.
So what's going on?
So I'll start with a little story because I was noticing this the other day. I was playing with Levi in the backyard.
Now, are you explaining what? Because I mean, preact versus react. I feel like is you explaining what those even are?
Yes.
Right. This story. Okay.
Yes.
Just
so this story leads into.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I do have a reason for talking about the Levi story.
Okay.
Because I was in the backyard throwing him frisbee and kicking balls.
And this
to
is
him.
your husband? Just kidding. It's our dog.
My dog.
I'm feeling spicy today.
Oh God. Levi is an Australian Shepherd dog. Okay, and they're specifically breeded over all the many years for herding sheep, okay, or cattle. Okay, so in that, we'll call it Levi's breed profession. Okay, his line of work.
His line of work. Yeah.
Dogs love to work. This kind of dog loves to work. Now, I don't have sheep in the backyard, but I have balls that can kick him, okay? And he herds these balls. But I noticed what he was doing because I was about to kick the ball, and his weight shifted. And his weight shifted because he could see where my weight was shifting. So he was preparing. He was like a boxer or a dancer.
Sure.
Preparing for his move based on what my body was doing. So he was anticipating where that ball was going to go by what I was doing. So the whole reason for explaining that, I promise you, there's an end. That's what I mean by preacting. So he is preacting. He is anticipating what his move's going to be. Okay. Well, what does this have anything to do with running? I would say that many runners, and I myself included, because I have to always check in on myself, we get lazy when we land, right? Running is, single leg jump to one leg, or just alternating, right? And what I mean by getting lazy is that we wait to react to the landing until after we land. So we respond to the load of the ground and the forces of the ground. We respond to them after we've already landed. Like, we're talking milliseconds here, right? But go ahead. You had a question.
Well, because I just want to be clear. So when we're talking about preacting versus reacting, you're talking about running and the phase of running, like as your foot is coming down to land on the ground, that being the pre-phase, and then the reacting is once your foot has hit the ground. That's the phase of running we're talking about.
I'm glad you asked me that, because that's not what I mean. So let's just talk about, I think it's good that you pointed out, that's a good point, that the phase of the running gait that I'm talking about here is the landing.
Okay.
So you're landing on your foot. Now, you could choose to preact or react. And a lot of us are reacting. So many of us are reacting, which means we're waiting until after that foot hits the ground and it feels the force to then tense up those muscles instead of preacting. Yeah.
Are you going to explain what preact, like what you would be thinking about if you're preacting?
Yes.
Okay, great.
You're worried about it. I can tell.
Well, because I just feel like, who knows what that means?
Right.
Okay.
Well, maybe I should just get into that, what I mean by that. So what I mean by the preacting is that you will anticipate your landing, kind of like Levi anticipated the move that I was going to make, right? So you're going to set your muscles milliseconds before you land.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So is this, for example, like I have a problem with my big toe and you help me understand it's related to my hip. So when I go run, I have to be I am thinking about before my foot hits what I'm doing with my hip and like just trying to be conscious about how I land. Is that what you mean by preact?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and
so it requires some degree of awareness of both what you are doing and what you should be doing. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So why is this problematic though? I mean, like, so who cares? Why can't we just react? Because when you're landing on that leg and that foot, it's anywhere from like 6 to 8 times. That changes in the literature, but it's not, we used to say 3 times your body weight. It's not. It's more like 6 to 8 times your body weight on that leg. And if we wait to respond until after we've landed, it's too late.
And that is because that means that none of the muscles up the chain are ready to absorb that absorb that pounding. Is that right?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. And there's a couple things that will result from that, and that is you can lose energy there. And
because things are like, you're just like...
Yeah, imagine it's like, what if you slowed it down and it was like, whoa, 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 right? And you've seen those videos where like, I don't know, someone gets hit in the jaw and it's like, and you see all this, you see all the skin moving and everything. Your body is doing that same thing when it lands. So if we can lose energy then, it changes our recoil and our ability to produce power on the push-off.
So because we have the conversation in swimming and we can edit this out if it's not. Because and the thing that I've tried to figure out, like, it took me so long to understand, like, what the hell does it mean you're losing energy? So the thing that helped me sort of understand that and how I explain it in swimming is if you have a mattress and you have box springs, and I know they're different weights, but let's just pretend for a second that they're the same weight.
Yes.
And then if you are going to like pull or push the box springs, all of your energy is going to go into that movement, right? Because the box spring is going to hold its form, so all of your pressure is going into moving it, not changing the form of the box spring. Versus if you have a mattress and you're pulling or pushing on it, a lot of your energy is going to changing the shape of that mattress. It's like you pull on that mattress, and if it's soft and you pull on it, you see some of your energy going into moving the shape of the mattress, not actually moving the mattress itself.
Exactly.
And that is how I figure, like,
that's a perfect analogy. And then if we transfer that over to the muscle, so
Yeah.
let's just do a hip muscle, for example.
Okay.
We've talked about the glute medius on the side of your hip. Mm-hmm. Okay. Big fan muscle. There's a medius and a minimus. It's a tendon connected to the outside of your hip.
important movers in running.
Important, well, stabilizer,
Stability.
right?
Yeah.
So you land, say you're landing on your foot, okay? Those muscles are to stabilize your hip from kind of dipping out to the side.
So it holds it in place. That's
it
what we mean.
holds it and stabilizes it in place so that you can produce power going backwards to push the ground away behind you. Well, if we lose energy there, if we wait to kind of think about those muscles being in action just milliseconds before it lands, and I'll get into that in a second, but think about what that muscle is doing. If it's not prepared to absorb the force of the ground, it is going to go out sideways, kind of like what you're saying with the mattress. And so now I've lost energy in what we call the frontal plane or sideways. And it's, again, we have to slow it down and, really to really be able to see that.
But so what you're saying is that instead of saying stable and creating forward force, it's now kind of
or stabilizing in order for you to produce forward force with other muscles. Yes.
Yeah. Is that it's not holding its form. And so it's, when you say leaking energy, it's almost like it's moving, like maybe it goes to the side or it's doing something that it's not supposed to.
Correct.
So then you're not creating that power forward.
Correct.
So like, wah.
Yeah. Okay. And actually, I have enough years of training of watching running gait that I can see this. And a lot of people, you could even see it when it's dramatically, like that person has you can see people moving kind of that side to side in their hips. But even if you are sort of a healthy runner and strong glute medius, it's still happening if those muscles are not wired to engage and before the landing. Okay. So not only does it decrease our power, but it increases our injury risk.
And so, sorry.
Because we're not protecting the joints. I know.
I know, but I just, because I feel like we throw this language around and it's really hard to know. But when you say, when those muscles aren't wired to do that, that is not always conscious. In fact, it's often not, right? So when you're saying, are we pre-activating, like this is sometimes something like that you actually can't do until you've worked with somebody who can help you figure out what you're supposed to do, like connect the muscles to the
100%.
Okay, just
now,
being clear.
I think that there are some runners who naturally are able to do this. And I believe that could be because perhaps they were a dancer or a gymnast when they were younger. It kind of depends on your development. But there's a lot of people out there who never really learned that in the first place. Maybe didn't and aren't. I don't know. I want to just say that there's probably some people who naturally do it.
Well, I see that with swimming. Like sometimes people just it's a body awareness thing, and I don't know that you can necessarily teach that. I think you can develop it, but some people just have that. Like it's not the same for everybody.
Right, but we can teach to preact over react. Okay, let's go back to the injury, because I was going to give an example of an injury. Let's say, for example, that it was that, it doesn't really matter if you're constantly reacting, that could injure the glute. It could be the knee. It could be anything in the chain.
So you're talking about like injuries that come from not preacting to manage the load when you land.
Okay, so how do we bring this into practice? One of my favorite drills is just a mind drill. I knew you're going to love it. It's your mind. So take yourself into just kind of even close your eyes and imagine that I have asked you to stand on a chair or something that's 2 feet, 3 feet up in the air. If I tell you Liz, I want you to jump down and land on one leg from that height. Are you just going to jump down? Or what is your first instinct? What's your first instinct to do?
Super prepare for that landing.
Prepare. You're going to be like,
That's great.
you almost like, even just imagining it, you kind of are like, tense up. And I will actually have people in the clinic stand on there, because I can do that with them. I'm in person with them. I'll have them stand there and I'll be like, I don't want you to do this. Don't jump off of it. Right.
Yeah.
But if I ask you to do this, it's so funny. They're like, oh, there's a huge hesitation. And it's like, where does that come from? Well, it comes from, you're not sure that you are going to be able to support the landing on that leg.
Yes.
Well, you better be unsure that you're supporting your foot when you're running on the road. And it seems so...
But that's such a good, because as soon as you said that, I was like, ooh.
Yep. So another mind drill that you can do also is imagine that... And so this is actually when you're out running, you can do this. Imagine that the ground is going to shift or move underneath your foot, that you don't have this concrete sidewalk or this road, that perhaps there's, and this is why I love trail running, because man, when you trail run on a technical trail, you are preacting every single step.
Okay, and so
because you can't trust the ground.
Well, and so that
move.
means that like you are having to create the stability because the ground isn't, versus we rely on the ground to create that stability and we don't pay attention to our hips.
That's or
body,
any of the
or
muscle,
any part of it,
all the muscles.
All of the muscles. We're
I'm circling her arm around
very
in the air.
enthusiastic here.
Because you're not just tensing up your hip,
Right.
right? You are tensing up. And I don't want to be like, I don't want people to be running with their shoulders up to their ears and like squeezing their fists really hard. That's not what I mean by tensing. It's engaging, preparing your mind and your body that you're going to absorb that shock.
Activate it.
Pre-acting. That's where that kind of comes from. So, that's what I love about trail running is on a technical trail especially, but because you don't know, there's wet leaves, there's rocks, there's roots. If you land, that ground is very likely to shift underneath you. So that running is very different. And that's why people, after they've done a few trail runs, they're like, wow, it actually really did help with my ankle stability. Oh my gosh, my core was working really hard. And that's because they were pre-acting. They were actually using their muscles.
That's so interesting. They have to engage in creating the stability.
Yes. So another thing I like to throw out there is like, well, also, so when I have some running boot camp classes that I teach, run clinic, or if I'm working one-on-one with an individual in a run development session, I will have them do a bunch of different drills, plyometric drills, some running drills, again, with all these things in mind. But sometimes it helps, a verbal cue that helps some people is, I want you to pretend that the ground is, hot lava. That's another thing. Like, just, it's really, really hot and you barely want to keep, that's a good drill for a ground contact time. We'll talk about that another time. But it also makes you pre-act because you're like, oh, it's going to be hot.
Yeah. And you're not going to have a huge amount of time to let all that energy sink into when you don't have a lot of ground contact time. So it's like, you've got to create that.
You will notice if you're pre-acting that your ground contact times will go down.
Boom.
Why? Because you were stabilized, you were able to generate your power and go forward.
And not rely on the ground to do that for you.
Right. There you go.
So interesting. So,
that's it.
That's awesome. Except, so talk to me about, because, as I do that, as I run, the more warmed up I get, the more I feel like I'm able to, like...
Ooh, good point.
Yeah. So talk about, like...
That's why I like to do warm-up drills that are just, aside from dynamic mobility, like kind of warming up. I like dynamic mobility over stretching because I don't like the true kind of old school stretching. That's another podcast. But that's why it's good to do some little plyometric drills, is because you can work on that and kind of start engaging that pre-acting. So even before your run starts, you can already be... But that is exactly why you feel it when you're more warmed up. But then on the flip side of that, we start our reaction issue becomes worse and worse as we get fatigued
100%.
and tired.
And I can feel that I can't do it.
Right. So my advice at that point, and this is, I've really changed my training myself, but also other people, is that I'm even working with some high school cross country runners on this right now as well, is that stop your run at that moment. Walk. Maybe it's 30 seconds, maybe it's 10 seconds, maybe it's a minute. And it's not because you're like, like trying to gasp for breath. It's because your form has started to falter. Why are we continuing? The injury risk goes up. Yeah. You're not training anything.
Yeah.
It's not helping you. So why would you go to that next interval, even though, okay, well, the goal of this particular workout was your VO2 max training. Well, it doesn't. It all goes to pot if you're not doing it efficiently, your form isn't there. If your form isn't there, stop. You're on a 20-mile run, you think, if I don't run consistently for this full 20-mile run or 2 hours or whatever, 3 hours, whatever it is, get that out of your head.
Yeah, and that's, we talk about that with swimming, and there's a lot of fiery debate around that in swimming, but it's.
Oh, good. So I can stop in the middle of the lane and be like, nope, my form is off.
That's a nuanced conversation.
Okay. That's another
Sure, if you want to get out of the Ironman swim after 100 yards or die on your run. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
Anyway,
so
that's
how would you recap the summary for this?
Oh, I mean,
what's our takeaway here for everybody?
I mean, I think there's there's a lot of, we used a lot of language that I think is hard to kind of really understand, right? And I think trying to understand, like, first, what do we mean by pre-activate and where are you in that phase? Like, are you aware enough of your run form to understand what we are talking about? And are you having problems with your running? Like, are there things going on? Do you need to address this? I mean, I feel like we all do, but for some people who are having... So I think really, for me, a takeaway, because it took me so long to understand what pre-activate meant, is to kind of get your head around what that might mean and pay attention when you go out to run to, like, are you thinking about your run form and, like, what it means to engage before you land, or are you zoned off and, like, you're just slogging through?
Right.
And I feel like there's so much more to this podcast, but I think pre-activate's kind of a hard thing to understand until you try it.
Right. And, it's not, if you're struggling to understand it, it's not a bad idea to work with somebody on it that knows what they're doing, because, go to a run clinic or have a run evaluation or run development session, or, if you have a coach that understands this and can work with you on it. I think that's important. I think it's a good, if you're struggling to understand what it means.
Well, I pushed the wrong button and we stopped recording for a second, but we didn't want you all to miss what we were talking about. So here we go. Let's try that again.
Okay, so what were you saying?
Well, I was just off there at the end because I was thinking about how really truly hard this is, and
when you were saying, like, for yourself, like
for myself.
Yeah.
To really understand what the F I'm supposed to be doing, and it's not just with the run. I mean, I can feel it in the swim and the bike too, and trying to, just understand how to hold your body and what the hell all of this actually means and why it matters. Like, it took me quite some time to understand what it meant by losing energy in your run or losing energy in your swim. And they're really important concepts, but I just feel like we don't give credit to really kind of how hard this conversation is to really understand what the hell we're talking about.
And and you made a good point. It is a timing type thing. Yeah. It is a neuromuscular connection type thing. So you're going to have to you work on it in different layers. But do you feel like the analogies here or the drills, did that bring it home to you a little bit? Like,
it did.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand it, and I'm just thinking for our listeners and, like, how long it's taken me to kind of understand that, and how hard I feel like it still is to not just listen to this and think it's just going to be, like, so obvious because we're throwing these words around, and everybody's just out there pre-acting and reacting and, like, analyzing their own run form. I'm like, nobody, like, You know,
anticipate
I think about,
your landing. I've seen people, when I work with people, you're right, because when I work with people, there's some people that are like, the eyes start to glaze over and they really, you can see that they don't understand it at all. But there's, I would say most people, and maybe this is better on a one-on-one thing when you're working with somebody, but there are people that do get it. But even if you understand, what we're saying here today, when you go to try to implement it, be patient with yourself.
Oh yeah. Well, and I feel like one thing that I learned, I did a mentor thing with a triathlon coach, and we were doing some stuff with swimming, and he was talking about how our job as coaches is to give the cue to get the athlete in position to do the thing we wanted to do, and then the stuff you're saying starts to make sense because they can do it. So sometimes it's a matter of of finding the thing or the person or the cue that helps you do the behavior that you want.
That is physical therapy 101, because it's you have verbal cues and physical cues, but it is always about finding that magic word or analogy that works for the person. And that's why I gave several, because it was like, the hot lava example sometimes works for the person, and the ground shifting underneath you doesn't, you know. So pick and choose which ones. And if you need help, get some help. Have someone work with you.
Well, just because it's swimming, it's so hard. Swimming is very hard to feel, and it's so hard. It is, and you don't have the ground to hit. You're working against the water, which means it's just a lot more slippery. Different podcast, but if you can find explaining that to somebody, it doesn't work. It was all about the cue, and I feel like there's a lot of what we're saying.
So much.
Doing the thing that gets them in the position to do the behavior that you want them to do. And then eventually it clicks, but it's just you just have to work at it. It's okay if you don't.
So what we're saying is this is achievable. It's a little bit challenging at first, but give yourself some grace and be patient with yourself and work on it. So in conclusion, preacting is important to your run power and form, and can help prevent injury. So give it a try.
And now it's time for the funny things and stranger things segment of this podcast.
Are you going on any trips this spring? Do you have anything what's set up for the next couple months? With spring break with quotes around it. Are you doing anything?
Spring break. I'm going to go see Fredward. Go out and see my dad.
Oh, good. That's in California,
and my
right?
sister. Yeah, my sister and my dad in California.
If it hasn't washed away.
I know.
I know.
I know. It's a little strange. But no, it's pretty tame right now.
Okay.
Which is fun.
Because sometimes you have some amazing trips planned. So David and I are going to whisk off to Cancun, because it's nonstop direct flight from Kansas City, which is rare.
It's great.
To be on a beach in 4 to 5 hours.
It's amazing.
It's probably the only place you can.
And the water there is warm, and the sand is nice. It's It's great.
So I probably won't swim. I did one swim in an ocean. I will swim in the pool.
Nope.
Okay.
We're making a goal.
No, I already did it. I did it once. It's on video. I videoed it. It was in Florida. I was terrified.
We're going to walk through this in real time right now. So, nope.
No, it's not because I'm afraid I'm going to drown or not have good
you are
run form.
So tense. You're hyperventilating.
No, it is the sharks. You can't do anything about the sharks, Liz. I don't have any problem doing a swim.
Are you done?
It's not the waves. You know what?
Are you done?
You know what?
Oh.
This is what's going to go into my mind.
I'm asking the audience. Is she coachable?
There was a podcast that you did about, what was it, propulsion in the water. And you're don't spin your arms. So if you're being chased by a shark, get propulsion. Pull, don't spin. I'm spinny, 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 spinny.
Are you done?
Yes.
What is going on?
Are you going to tell me that it's safe for me to swim in that ocean?
No, I am not. I don't think
what are you going to tell
me? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Convince me.
I'm not. There's no convincing.
Oh.
So what if you just went on to the shore where it's shallow and you just sat down in the waves? Just right there.
I do that. I go in the ocean. Okay, here's my struggle. You're going to help me with this right now. Here's my struggle. I will get in the ocean and float around. I'll even do bodyboard surfing and paddleboarding and stuff like that. I'm not afraid of the ocean. I'm afraid to swim in the ocean because
what are you doing when you're bodyboarding?
I can't. I'm able to see. I feel like I've got control where I can see everything that's around me.
I wasn't saying like
instead
go
of
for a
swimming.
hardcore swim. I was saying get in and just enjoy the water because it's so
okay.
warm.
Yeah. Oh no, I will enjoy the water.
Okay.
Don't. Yeah.
Goodness.
But I wouldn't. Swimming in there is a very different thing.
Well, it is, yeah.
Maybe that's another.
I swam. I did some swimming along the coast there not too long ago, and but this is the thing is that you can actually swim, and in fact,
You swam the Maui Channel.
well, I don't.
relay thing.
I'm a firm believer that sharks aren't real.
Oh my God. All right. No.
Okay, but can we just back off? We're just going to bring.
I have a scary
First, I'm
story
going to
that
make you
I'm not
take a
gonna
deep
share.
breath. Can you take a deep breath?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're going to bring
See
you
how
down.
terrified I am of sharks, though?
Okay, so we're not going to fight it.
Okay.
What you resist persists. Okay, so you're just going to stay right here. Okay, so do you have a belief that you have to be way far out to swim?
No, I don't have that belief.
Okay.
It's that I really am afraid to open my eyes in the water. Like literally all of the swims I've done in open water in my races and stuff, my eyes are closed.
Okay. What about when you're bodyboarding?
I'm
You're closing your eyeballs?
Well, no, because you're really, your face isn't in there. I think that's the thing.
Okay.
I can do the water in the ocean when my ears and eyes are not in
Okay.
covered.
Okay. So
that is the thing.
Okay,
This
see,
is a therapy session.
Well, because this is the thing that people, it's so important because people get into the water and there's so many different things that can trigger people. And unless you are really so this is very specific, right? Because you have to figure out exactly what it is. And we make a lot of assumptions about why somebody is having an issue with the open water in here. Okay. So what I would say to somebody, if they were wanting to tackle it, is so what you're going to do is go and sit on the shore. You're sitting on the shore. You're not going to even go out waist deep. And you're going to put your face and your head under while you're sitting there. And you're going to do it you're going to hold your breath and put your face in, put your goggles on, open your eyes for 2 seconds. And you're just going to sit there. And that's all you're going to do on that trip, right? So I'm not saying that's what you do. But what you would do is to start with trying to name very specifically what the issue is, and then break that down into something where it's okay, this is where I start to feel the anxiety, and that's where you stop, and you do that behavior and you gauge it a very short amount of time, and you're not going to go out into where you can't touch and then submerge everything and start swimming, because that isn't going to go well, right? So for you, it's if I put my head and my face underwater and open my eyes in the ocean, that's where it starts to go janky, and so let's pull that back.
Yeah, and there was this, I used to, we would go on trips to Hawaii or whatever and snorkel, and I loved it. It's like you're swimming in an aquarium, right? But it was I have presence of mind. I can look around, but the very last time that I did it, there was this huge, huge shadow, and I didn't look straight at what this thing was, but it's this thing that's larger than me. I don't like that.
Okay.
And that's the scary thing is that, okay, what if I'm swimming along and I don't mind closing my eyes in the lake and not seeing the thing, because I'm not worried that there's a shark that's going to I'm going to come across, right?
Okay.
But in the ocean, I'm terrified that I will see that.
Okay. And I think that's, and that would be scary.
It's a legitimate fear. And then you add swimming, which is a challenge, and you're focused on that, and then seeing a thing.
And so
that I don't want to see.
Well, and so the thing that people do is that that's what they're feeling, and then they wonder why they can't go out off 10 feet offshore and swim, and it's because you haven't dealt with any of that, right? And so it's you can't do that. That's not a good scenario. Yeah. So what feels feasible to you? If you, and maybe you don't want to tackle it, and that's a different conversation, but if you were, is it possible for you to sit at a place and put your head under and open your eyes for 2 seconds in a place you feel safe? What can you do? Yeah. Right? Because it's very clear what you cannot do. And so the last thing you want to do is go right to the center of you can't do. Right. Yeah. And so it's a very mindful approach.
Little baby steps.
Tiny baby steps.
Is what you're saying to do.
And specific ones that are related to specifically what you're dealing with, right? It's not like your friend's baby step is not your baby step, right? And that is really, I had a clinic recently with a guy who has, he's tried a ton of different, he trained for an Ironman, and he got in and he had a panic attack in the open water, which had never happened to him before, and he got pulled out. And is often the case when people have panic attacks in open water and they've never had them before, and it's during a race.
Yeah.
It creates a mental situation that usually, in most cases, it takes years to get rid of, and sometimes it doesn't ever go away because you have no tools and you don't anticipate it, and it's so awful. And that's, I mean, it's your brain's job. It's your amygdala.
It's
your amygdala's
you.
job to remember that scenario. So unless you deal with that, it's never going to get better, right? And so he'd been to all of these different swim clinics dealing with his swim stroke, thinking that was why he was going to panic in open water. And we had to we spent, the whole clinic, like, you're no longer
diving into what is causing this in the first place.
And like, you're no longer, like, when you put your face in, you're no longer breathing in because your body's afraid to breathe in. You're no longer exhale. So it had nothing to do with his swim stroke. And he was,
it was anxiety.
It was, but people don't want to admit that. And especially, he's like, it was
I have no problem admitting it in my anxiety.
Well, if you've been really successful in sports previously and you have no reference for something and it's so out of your control, and then somebody's like, well, it doesn't have to do with your physical ability, it's all what's going on in your head and managing your breath, and that sounds so silly, you get really resistant to that.
But it can happen to anybody, because you and I know some very successful, even professional athletes, but coaches too, who have had this happen to them.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't give a shit.
It doesn't give a shit.
But if you're going to be too, you have to listen to that. You got to, it can be really tricky. But anyway, my point is that when you have something that's setting off the panic, two things. One, you have to really like dive in and figure out specifically what it is. Don't make assumptions. Like it's very specific. You pulled that out, specifically deal with that. And two, instead of looking and seeing like, this is a thing I can't do, and like looping on that and like sending yourself into like a 5-star fire, well, okay, we're not going to do that. What can you do?
So you're not suggesting I go cage diving with great white sharks?
I feel that would not set yourself up for success, right? Oh, I'll tell you something I will never effing do in open water, in any water.
Yes, I want to hear it.
Well, first of all, it scares me to death to swim at night. Even in a pool, like even when I was younger, we had
me too.
Like the night swimming with the lights or whatever at swim meets that would go late.
Yeah,
and the lights scare me. It scares me. But the other thing that is people who go noodling. They go down into the lakes and they find the holes in the thing and they stick their hand in and they pull the fish out. What is happening? You could not. There is nothing. There's nothing that can make that okay. What's it called?
It's a form of hunting, right? You're hunting.
Yeah, they call it noodling. And you go into the murky lake. Ew. Like, I don't really love gross lakes, even though if I'll swim in them. And then you go down to the bottom where you can't see, and there's like slimy shit, and you find a hole, and you stick your freaking hand in the dark hole, and you hope that something's in there, and then you pull it out? Like, what? No. And then what, you're going to eat it? Whatever's been sliming around in the bottom of the lake in the dark hole, and then they pull out this worm-looking fish, and then you eat it? Like, what is going on?
That's not in our wheelhouse. I wonder if there's a podcast on noodling. I bet you there is. I bet there's a YouTube channel on it.
People love it.
Oh, I know. It's a whole other kind of sport.
Stop flailing your noodle. That's a conversation. That could go south. We're leaving it there. Leave the noodles out of this, people.
Have a great day, y'all.
Thanks so much for listening. And remember,
we are in this together.
Until next time.